Do I have to hit okay? I bet I do.
Oh,
Okay.
that's yeah. F that, you know. This computer system already ruined it. Andrea Janov, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, John? I don't think I've
Good.
ever called you John. I've always called you Popko.
That's fine. That's what I go by. It's I've been going by Popko for I don't know how long now. Since like grade school, middle school. Because
Middle school.
there was always like three Johns in the class. So
Right.
that's the definer right there, is the last name.
Yeah. I don't know when I learned your first name because I think I was introduced to you as Popko, and then that was just it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm trying to, this is so wild. Like I'm trying to like I tend to have a really good memory, right? And I cannot remember like the moment that we met. I know the group of friends that connected us, the Chris Abbott, Kevin Callahan, Dave Ermack, that group. Um, John Tomkowski, we call him Jibbo.
Uh, I'll never let Jibbo live Jibbo down. He'll
No,
always be
he
Jibbo in my heart.
tries. He tries. There's a like so I'm still in a group text with Kevin Ermack, Josh Turner, and Jibbo. And some of them started calling him John. I'm like, what is this? This is not happening.
Not okay.
Nope. But I
I
can't remember.
I can't remember either. It had to be, I would say it was at Kevin's apartment. So like Kevin and I were and are really good friends. And he was like the connection. Cause then I don't know, did Chris go to school or was he already gone? I think it was through Kevin.
Yeah, so well, real quick, this podcast is gonna be super boring for anyone listening because we're gonna just go
Sorry.
down memory. No, no, no. I do this for me. I don't do this for anyone else. This is for me. Much like you documented a lot of what we're gonna talk about to have that forever. This is why I have this. This is for me. The hell with everybody else. So yeah, so Kevin, Josh, and Chris, they all went to Penn State Wilkes-Barre the
Yeah.
first 2 years. And then Chris and Josh had left for state college the third and fourth year. Kevin stayed back. I lived in the apartment before Kevin did.
Oh.
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about because
It,
he lived down the road for a little bit, like across from or next to Pizza Bella.
next to the Cook's apartment?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, he was down the street, like a couple
Okay.
blocks by Pizza Bella. But yeah, so I'm the one who uh I told him to move into that complex. And that
Yeah.
was 2003, I want to say.
Yeah. 2002, 2003. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was way back when. Like I was coming in, I was in college in New York at that time,
Hmm.
and Kevin was like my one of my anchors back home. So
Yeah, I feel like you were never a constant. Um,
oh,
you were like Andrea's in, then she's gone, and Andrea's in, now she's gone.
yeah, that's still my MO back home. Like I bounced when I was 17. I was like, I've graduated high school, I am done. So I would come and visit, but I never moved back to the area.
The one that got out.
Yeah, sure. Just change scenery.
Well, a lot of people they get out, they come back. Kevin got out. He's in Colorado now,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know. Chris got out. Chris is in Pittsburgh now.
Chris literally lives maybe 3 miles from me, pushing it.
Are you for real?
Yes.
No way.
We don't see each other nearly enough, but like you make a left out of my street and go straight, and then you make a left into his street.
Small world, huh?
Yes, yes.
So yeah, so we've known of each other for a long time. So we're going on like what, 20 plus years.
Let's not say that.
Oh, we're old. We're getting old. I'm sorry. I hate to break the news to you, but um, it is what it is. But I think it's better, and I think we're gonna get into that
Yeah,
as we talk
I'm cool
about
with it.
what you have going on. And I'm glad you reached out to me. I appreciate the kind words you said about what I do. And you wanted to talk, writer of poetry, capturer of moments, Andrea Janov. And you had released mixtapes and photo albums. You sold out 300 copies, and then I got picked back up.
It's insane. It's
Yeah.
poetry.
Oh, yeah. But so the thing about it is, and I didn't get through all of it. I really wanted to. We talked before we jumped on here about everything that's going on in my life and how crazy it's been. But what I think I get into like I forget what page it was. Exactly. But like it's poetry, but like it's such a story too. It's not just a poem. It's like, you have the side A and side B, which goes really well with the, mixtapes. Um, you have great photos in it as well. Um, photo albums, right? And every chapter is kind of like is it set to like a song title? Is that the
Yeah. So I wanted it to feel so God, my brain is like exploding. Yeah. So it's a story. It's our story. It's a story of anyone who ever was young. Um, and anyone that went to shows, like the music is in the background. So I wanted to put the music in the foreground. So I titled every poem as a song so that you can have this kind of soundtrack as you're reading and experiencing it, because that soundtrack was always there, especially in this particular subculture. Because we may all have had different interests, but it was like the music that brought us together. That sounds really cheesy when I say
No,
it.
but you're right though. I mean, like, and this whole podcast is, it's primarily about music and talking to musicians, but like music does so much, I think. And we talk about music healing people and saving people's lives and connecting people. And that can be said also about, writing or poetry and all that kind of stuff. Art in general. And we joked before about like how we do this. It's not the thing that pays our bills, right? But it's what we love to do. Unfortunately, the arts don't pay a lot of money, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like I don't the whole like punk rock saved my life is like a cliche, but it really did change my trajectory, I think. Going to that first show in the basement of the Sterling set my path.
And I never had the privilege of being there at that
Really?
venue. Yeah, never, never. I mean, before college, before you and I met, I even no, because we were in the apartment at that time. Prior to that, I grew up in Honolulu Creek. I was out in Lehman area, so like
Mhm.
you know, going to Wilkes-Barre was like a big deal. You know, um, so yeah, I never got to witness and any of that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, I have to say, like, I have awesome parents. Like we were like 14, 15 years old, 14 maybe. Like they would drop us off and just be like, okay. And my mother had the 10 after rule. So the rule was she would pick us up 10 minutes after the hour because she had to be watching a show or something and she wanted to finish it. So she would drop me and Sharon mostly in the beginning off at the Sterling. And she's like, I'll be here 10 after midnight to pick you guys up. Like, not many kids have that kind of trust and freedom. Like, my parents were just like, I know where you're at and it seems cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world now, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how things change. And we'll get into that too. But you know, talk about how the scene, like how you kind of came up, and like, and we'll get into how this collections of poetry kind of came together.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said you grew up in the scene,
So
14 years old.
yeah, I grew up in the scene. So I don't know anything about music aside from the fact that like I love it and it means
Same,
so much to me.
same. People,
But
it's funny because I can't perform music at all, but I have a podcast that's
I
primarily about music.
I really love to hear that, honestly, because like it makes me feel a little bit less alone
Yeah.
because I can't talk the talk, but I'm just like, I know what it means to me as a fan. And I
Hmm.
know what it means as a receiver. And um throughout like being young in the scene, I did a bunch of zines. So I always had like the writing component in there. And yeah, I think I not that I like realized it at the time, but I was like documenting. I a lot of photographs, a lot of just scribblings and notebooks that eventually when I was, at the time where I was creating my first collection. I said, what's important to me? And like, that was it. It was these kids. It was that time. It was that I felt that this collection of people and moments was so special in terms of the interactions that it needed to be documented. And I had documented it. It wasn't articulate. It wasn't pretty yet, but it was there. And I think it was not that there's awesome other collections about punk and adolescence out there, but I think this was it was a woman's, girl's point of view at the time of going through a predominantly male subculture, but that was really welcoming. And it was like, we didn't think of it that way at the time. So it was a really natural progression to make it all a collection when I looked at what I was writing and what had what was the through line, I guess.
So did you go home and journal after these like events that you were able to like have these to like reference when you put it all together, or how did that work?
I always have a notebook on me to this day. So since I was 14 years old, I always, and I am like, I shove things in my notebook, like receipts and like things that people throw away and just like thoughts that come to me or moments that I think might be important. So yes, I actually have a really cool vintage Foot Locker that has all of my journals since that time. And like whenever I'm done with one, I throw it in there. So when I have to write a new collection, I pull them back out.
Do you ever feel crazy doing that? Like
Um,
like a pack rat almost?
Maybe. I am a pack rat.
Only
I
because listen, I grew up working at the Weekender. I still have boxes of Weekenders in my storage closet. That's why I ask. It's like
Yeah.
part of me is like, am I nuts for keeping that?
No. So I say in another life, you know how like you get to an age where you're like, oh, I could have had all these other careers.
Mhm.
Archivist. I could have been a great archivist. And it sounds like you maybe could have too, because you just keep these moments and they become history.
It's that's why I also love doing this, and I'm sure you can appreciate what I'm going to say because I'm sure you do it for the same reasons too. Like art, music, all this kind of stuff that we create is going to live on so much longer than us, right? And there's something cool about that. Like I lost my dad when in 2005 I was 22 years old, and what I wouldn't give to have like even a voicemail of him. I don't have many pictures of him. He wasn't like a big picture guy. Like, and even back then, it wasn't like people took pictures, but if you had to like put them in albums and save them and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't have a lot left of him, and I'm happy that I get to do this because my kids will always have something to look back on or like watch me or hear me or whatever they want to do. Maybe they don't even care, but it's cool.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, to think we don't know what's going to happen, but that
No.
you're creating something that you're proud that either your kids will look at it when you're an old man and laugh at you or think, man, my dad was so cool. Like, look at all this cool stuff he did.
Yeah.
I think there's something really beautiful. I think there's a lot of beauty in objects and photos. If you looked at my house, that's all it is. It's like random pieces from people in my life, both here and long gone. And I think that I do try to put that into my poetry. Like it's a photograph, it's a memory, it's something you can hold on to. So yes, I love that idea. And I can only hope that people will read it after I'm gone.
Well, I'm sure someone's gonna come across it, right? And just like so I had an idea because I'm from the area, so I was familiar with these landmarks, even though I had never been. But like I felt like I was in your shoes. Like I could like I got and I wrote a note real quick. Like how you did it was you were able to say like full paragraphs with like just like half the amount of words. And that's what I thought really cool. I'm a big like I'm not a big poetry guy, but ones I like they rhyme, obviously, and then yours don't, right? But like it was so cool because I was reading these and I'm in my head is kind of filling in all the blanks around just the words that you're using. And it was just really cool.
Thank you. Um, that's one of the most, I think, flattering types of comments I can get because I wanted to make the universal and the specific. So like I had one specific experience, and that's the point of view I could write from. But all the people that were around were having a similar experience, but not the same one, but we were in the same environment. So I wanted to create the environment. And hearing that someone can put themselves in their shoes, even if they weren't at that show or they were never at a show, but that they can be like, yeah, I felt like this once, is like, I feel like maybe I've done what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. Like, I've never, like I said, I'm not a big poetry guy, but like I've never really kind of read anything like it before, and it was cool too because I know of you. Like I haven't seen you in probably 15 years or something like that. But it was cool because like I pictured myself there, or I pictured like it being you. Um, it was just really cool, and it's really well done, and the pictures are awesome too. Like it just, I'm glad you shared it with me. I almost wish I would have asked for the actual book.
I will send you the actual.
No, you keep that and sell it, make
I
some money off of it.
pile of them. I will send you the actual book.
No, but
I'll send you this
yeah,
one.
hold it up, because the cover's cool too. Mixtapes and photo albums.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, I think, and it's also really cool for like people. Like I want to. It's been like a little mini mission. Like poetry is not scary. It can be really accessible and the vernacular and like the everyday moments. So I think that a lot of people are scared of poetry and think they don't like it, but you can. You just have to find the right poetry.
yeah, I think I did. I think I did. I was a rhyme guy before. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
You could be both.
Yeah, I'll be both. But I like this better. This is better. But tell talk about the first like experience, the first moment. Kind of like when you entered the scene and you felt like, oh wow, this is something I want to be part of this. And how did you know?
That's a big question. I write about it in there. Um, we're probably 14 years old. I had a friend from school who like his band was playing and he invited me to go to Metro to see them. And I talked Sharon into going with me because you can't go alone. That's terrifying. And I still remember walking through those like fluorescent lit, linoleum stained, terrible hallways to pay my $3 and get my hand stamped. And it was both terrifying and exciting at the same time because you don't know what you're going into. You know nobody. You only know this one guy who's in a band. And everyone was so welcoming. Like it was both the energy of the whole scene being like, we love this music, but also like people being like, hey, who are you? Let's chat, let's talk. Like I think I was terrified walking in and walking out. I was like, when is the next time there's going to be a band playing here? Like it was that quick and it was totally foreign. I grew up going to like concerts. My parents were awesome. Like I went to see my first concert when I was 7 years old.
Hmm.
At the Kingston Armory. It was Poison and Slaughter. So this is very different. So like the live music thing was always part of me, but this like bringing it down to like its connection of like artist and band and audience thing, I just kind of felt like maybe this is a place where I belong. I'm not sure I was like, this is it. This is Mecca, but I was like, I can see myself kind of finding a place there.
Yeah. And talk about a few of the parts in this collection, because I think there was a romantic part. And talk about a few, because like I said, I didn't get through all of them, but I want to kind of share with people, what they can expect in this collection.
Yeah. So I say this is when I like pitch this, when I was trying to sell this book, and I say sell in a very loose word, maybe just begging someone to publish it. That it's a coming of age story told in verse. So the perspective is it's a young girl in a local small town punk rock scene, and it's everything that comes with it through that time. So I think the time frame that the collection follows is probably 14 years old to like 17, 18 graduation, maybe a little bit past that. So there's friendships, there's relationships, there's exploring your personal boundaries. There is, the uncertainty of like leaving this small cocoon of your town that was like really supportive and wonderful to you, but like going off into whatever is next. And then, kind of coming back and like seeing what you left behind, what's still there, what's made you you, like you have that other perspective. There's a few relationships in there, for better or for worse. They're kind of, some people are amalgamated into one person to make it a little bit more coherent, but everyone in there is someone who really had a profound effect on me in my life and my view of it. So I wanted to honor those friendships, relationships, even if I haven't spoken to them in like 20 years.
Would you say this has been a form of therapy to a degree?
I mean, so yes and no. So I wrote it and it was just like, this is what it should be. And then I released it and it was a public book that anyone could buy. And I had a panic attack about like, who's going to see this? Who's going to reach out to me? Are they going to like how they're portrayed? Is their like name really attached to who they were in my life? It all turned out fine. Everyone was awesome, but there was a little bit of a like, when you're writing it for yourself, it's definitely therapy. It's like, this is it and it feels good. And then you're like, oh no, anyone in the world can buy this.
Yeah.
And there's panic.
Yeah. What was that like knowing that? Well, first of all, I mean, all right, it's done, it's finished. Like, how do you go about seeking a publisher and getting it kind of distributed?
That's a terrible process for an artist. So if you're a big fancy author, you get like an agent. But if you're a small independent artist, you pitch your book. So like you get singular poems published in like reputable publications, and you say, hey, these publications thought I was cool and good enough to publish. Do you want to publish the whole collection? So before I got my acceptance, I'm gonna like flub on this number, but there was more than 50 some rejections, and it's really hard to be like, man, I really like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't something that is universally appealing. And so I actually put it in a proverbial drawer and was like, I'm going to start my next collection and work on that. When the first publisher reached out to me and was like, hey, we're interested in this. So it had sat somewhere for like months and months and months. So it was really hard. It was really like, disheartening sounds too dramatic, but it was just like, after like 50 rejections, you're like, maybe this isn't it. Maybe the next collection's gonna be it.
That's fair though. I mean, like, it's not like you're just writing fake words too. It's like this is all part of who you are.
Yes.
So you're putting it out there, and obviously, no one wants to be rejected, right? Whether it's a school or a guy or a girl or a publisher. I mean, that's not what we want.
Yeah, it's not fun. And no matter how confident you are, it definitely makes you question.
It keeps you humble though. It keeps you in check.
Yes, it does. You'll never get too big for your britches in poetry. They'll always keep you humble.
They always put their foot on your neck just a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah, stay down there. But no, so you made it happen.
Yeah. I was thrilled. Like I got the email and I was like, are you legit? Like I was, I went back through all my notes, like, who did I submit this to? Like, is this really? And they were awesome. The publisher, EMP Books, was the publisher who did the first run. We collaborated. The photographs weren't even in my pitch. It was just like we were talking, and I was like, I would love for this to be multimedia. And they were like, great, like send us what you got. Like, what are you thinking? So it was and after all of that rejection, all that waiting, it even became like cooler than I was pitching it to be.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So then you sell 300 of them.
Then you sell 300 of them, which is crazy. 300 people out there, maybe not from Wilkes-Barre, now are familiar with Bedford.
That was the band it was about?
What's up?
That was the band?
That was the band.
Yep.
Yeah.
Legends.
They were. I'm sad you never got to experience it.
No, I never did. Uh, Bob Lewis was in Bedford, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very, I still don't talk to Bob, but I think he's still living in Nashville now. But
Yeah. He's doing cool things. I
yeah,
also still am connected with Bob, but
love Bob.
yeah,
Great,
it was
great friend.
just like they were the right band at the right time for the scene. Like
Yeah,
they joined, whether you liked pop punk or hardcore or indie, like you always all came together and had fun at a Bedford show. Like it
yeah.
was one of those moments.
I wish I had the chance. What could have been?
What could have been?
So at least 300 people have the book. At least
Yeah,
300 people like Bedford. At least 300 people like you as well.
I hope so. Maybe they hate me. I don't know.
Who cares? It's
They bought the
they
book.
bought the book. Yeah. So do you think it's over? Like, okay, I had this run. Like, now what?
Yeah. So what was super cool about that is that you get these emails from other like authors and stuff that find your book. And I got an email from someone I was like just connecting with, as like we're writers and writing is hard. And they sent me hey, have you ever heard of this publishing house? I think they would like your work. And it was Earth Island Books. And I was like, I haven't. So in this whole time, while I was being disheartened by my 50 rejections, I was working on my second collection, which was about my time in New York City, which was messy, we'll just say. So I was working on that, and I was publishing like individual poems. I was ready to send that out. So I sent that out, but to say, hey, because poetry is a huge gamble for anybody. I had this book, it sold out its initial run. Do you want to publish my next one? They were like, we're interested in the next one, but what about that first one too? So we started talking and we focused on the second one. We did all that, but in the background, it's like when we're done with this, and we can, if we like reached an agreement with the original publisher, we're gonna put out a second edition of mixtapes and photo albums. So it went from like 0 to 100 like super quick. I mean, it was
So,
probably a year, but like in the poetry world, super quick.
right. So is mixtapes, is that your first? Like,
That's the first one.
oh, see, I didn't know that. I thought the other one was the first one.
So mixtapes and photo albums is the first one, and they're both called. So then short skirts and whiskey shots is the second one, and then the re-release of mixtapes. There's a little bit of tweaks. There's different photographs.
That's why'd you do that?
So the second edition has more show photographs. The first edition has more like artsy. I like to take photographs, but they didn't connect with the poetry as much. The second edition has those like from the pit shots that I took during the time the poems were taking place. So
What kind of camera did you have back then?
back then, oh man, am I going to remember this? It was a Canon, I believe, because it died, and then I got a Sony, but the Sony was able to use the lenses from that camera. It was a film camera. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember. I
That's
have
okay.
it somewhere. It's on a
That's
shelf.
okay. That's all right. I was just curious because, like, I mean, cameras, I mean, there was always like, if you had a good camera, it was always good, right? But like, cameras for a lot of us were dog shit
Yeah.
compared to what they are now.
Yeah, I always had a decent camera, like not a point and shoot. It had lenses, but also like if it got destroyed in a pit, like it wouldn't be terrible.
Okay.
Like, but I was always that person that like had like the camera strap wrapped around my hand and had it there. Actually, when Loyalty Barber Shop opened up in the old Metro space on South Main,
Yeah.
Anthony found a picture of me in the pit taking pictures of other
No
people.
way. It's amazing.
So he asked me if I had like flyers and photos, and we were like going back and forth, and then he like found a picture of me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that that's a barbershop now is awesome, and a tattoo shop. Like that's like, I think if it's not a venue like it was, I mean, those are two great
And it's great to see like when this might be my own view, but like the Valley didn't love kids back then. They didn't want us to really have a say and succeed. And to see all these people that I went to shows with having these businesses that are thriving, it feels so good. And then that two of them are in the space of the old Metro is awesome.
Yeah, I think I was in Metro once, maybe twice. Once was for a Bob Lewis related show. He had a band called Radio Jersey.
I don't think I ever saw them.
I think that was 2010, 11, I think.
Oh, wow.
It was like one of the last shows that I think was ever in that building. I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. But where were we? I lost my train of thought here.
I don't know.
We're talking about cameras, and
Cameras.
you're in the pit taking photos. So were you like the girl, like everyone knew you as the girl that took photos?
I don't know. I don't know how anyone knew me. I was oblivious to other people. I like everyone's connected now. There's Facebook groups, there's this and that, and there were so many people that you're known in your small circle. But
Let's talk about that.
okay.
How different things are. Like there's, and I feel old saying this, but like I said before, we are old, right? But like it's so different now, and you know our our parents said that about us too. But I feel like it's so vastly different from like our youth to the youth today because of the internet, because of social media, things like that. I mean, kids aren't having those same experiences, and I think like having those experiences are so important. And yeah, maybe they'll have something different these days. I don't know, but like there's something to be said about the generation where your parents dropped you off and came to pick you up, or you knew when to go home when the street lights came on, and stuff like that. Or I mean, I know my kids my kids are young, so it's still early, but like I don't know if it's the media that scares you, or like, but we as parents are just different than our parents were. It's just a different world. Like, so I guess my question is like, does that make you sad? Like knowing the experience that you had, and then the kids now they won't get those same ones.
I mean, I think it makes me sad, but that it shouldn't. So it makes me sad because I love my experiences. I talk to people who grew up in totally different circumstances, and we always find that thread. Like, be it that your parents dropped you off somewhere, be it that like you were underage and the only place open was Denny's. So like across the country, like that's where you hung out because it was the only place you can go as an underage kid after like 10 o'clock at night, or that you hung around your mall and were a mall rat. So it does make me sad, but I don't know what's coming next. Maybe these kids are forming something that's very specific and meaningful to them that they're going to be sad that the next generation of kids doesn't have. Because I'm sure if we look back, like our parents could say, the same thing. Like, we didn't have to hang out at the mall. We were able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the progression of time, but I'm really, really grateful that I did have the experiences that I had, and I made the most of what was there at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I just saw this video, that's a reel on Instagram, and it was from Cody Sanchez, and she's kind of like she used to work on Wall Street, and she left Wall Street, and she's attempting to kind of like um prop up local small businesses. She's encouraging like ownership. Don't let the Black Rocks take it. Like you can do it yourself. Like just kind of an empowering type of individual. And this popped up, and she said that, and it was kind of, I'll get to this. She said that the youth of America is taking 25% less risk. They aren't drinking, they aren't having sex, they aren't working for pay, they aren't even dating. And she said, like, as parents, you're probably like, yes, this is sweet. But she says that if you're not doing any of that, if you're minimizing risk, you're basically a child. Because when you're a kid, like you're not allowed to take risks. Your parents tell you like, "Hey, be careful, don't do this." So it's like it's that old saying, like, without risk, there's no reward. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we had a lot of risk as young kids. And I think that has such an impact on who we are now and how we grow into adults. And if the kids aren't doing that, if they're kind of like being sheltered or they're not taking chances, they're not doing that kind of stuff, like it's weird. It's weird.
think like I keep on like mulling over as you're reading this, like what is risk?
Mhm.
Because I'm sure my parents took a risk being like, she's 14, I'm going to trust her. I'm just going to drop her off in the middle of Wilkes-Barre and it's going to be fine. And then we all took measured risk. But I never felt like I was taking risks. Like maybe I was taking risks when I was like, I maybe liked to break into abandoned buildings. Maybe that was a thing that I did.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, like in the early scene, it was really cool to be straight edge. So
Hmm.
I wasn't around a lot of kids that were like drinking or taking the traditional like coming of age like experimentations. So we were very free and like we would pick up and go to like New York City on a weekend if we wanted to. And like we'd come home by the night and sleep in our own beds, but it never felt like risk.
Hmm.
So I feel like this is something I want to mull over. Like that's a really interesting statement to parse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see where she's going with it. Maybe it doesn't exactly apply to, what we're talking about now, but like it's such a different world. And I don't think I think things are happening that we don't even think about because it's just not even like in our thought process. It's just happening.
Is it freedom? Is it the like I don't know. Like to me, it's the non-connectedness. Like I didn't have a cell phone to college. Like we had like the family cell phone
Hmm.
in like high school, where like if I was going, I got it. If my dad was like working late, he got it, kind of thing. So to me, like that was more of the risk, where like my parents couldn't get a hold of me if I didn't come home. It was that's the biggest chasm, I think, for me, from my childhood and like the next generation.
Yeah.
Because by the time we were even in our 20s, like everyone was super available all the time. And you had a map on your phone where like when I was 17, it was like you got in a car and you hope for the best.
Yeah. But that was the best. And I have this saying, and I told my friends I wanted to be put on my tombstone. I said it's all about the story. And what I mean by that is like I loved, and I think what was just great about youth is like just the unknown. Like you went out, there was no plan. You could have met the love of your life that night. You could have woken up, in a ditch. I don't know, but like the unknown was the best part of it. And I
Yeah,
think I think there's too much. There's not enough of that now.
I would agree. I'm 100% with you. And it was being open to that unknown too. Like you wanted it. You wanted to see where the night took you.
Yeah, it was the best. That's why I would like. I remember it was like maybe 10 o'clock on a weekday, and there was people they were partying out at the pool outside of Genetti's in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I was in bed. I had work the next day. They called me up and like, "Yo, we're going to the pool outside Genetti's. Are you in?" And I'm like, and I'm like, "All right, fuck it, I'm going." And I'm so glad I
Yes.
did. It was awesome. Like nothing crazy happened, but like I still had that story. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, even at it was just Josh Turner's wedding, I get made fun of because obviously we're drinking all day, having a good time. There was a picture at one point that we're doing the bag of wine and we're like pouring it in each other's mouths. And Kevin, I think it was, missed my mouth and went down my mouth, side of my mouth, and down my shirt. And then eventually there's a picture of me sitting in a chair and I just kind of fell asleep. And to this day, people still talk about that. And I'm like, well, you know what? You have a story you're still talking about to this day, so shut up.
Yes.
You know, I didn't hurt anybody.
Right. It's a happy memory. It's a when we were young.
Yeah.
And maybe it shouldn't be when we were young. Like we should keep on having those experiences. Like
For sure. It's just hard to find the time. Hard to find the time.
I still try to find the time. I don't know how to like phrase this. That doesn't sound pretentious, but like my husband and I don't have kids. So like we get to have whatever life we want as long as our careers allow.
You're a
So we
real
try
piece
to
of
like
shit.
consciously.
You're a real piece of shit. You don't
I
have kids? You don't
know.
have kids?
I
How
don't.
fucking dare you?
I have a dog. I'm surprised she's not yelling at me.
You scumbag not having kids. How
Yeah,
selfish are
no.
you?
People
Sorry.
don't like it. I mean, but
Sorry. Go ahead.
no. I love all my friends' kids. I'll hang out with them all day. I could play Barbies like nobody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's the
but
best. When they're not yours, you can like leave them
yeah,
somewhere.
you rile them up,
That's how I was when I didn't have a dog. I was like, I like dogs when they're not mine, but now I have a dog that I don't love just yet. I mean, I do,
oh,
but I also my life will be less stressful without it.
dogs are the best.
I kind of had
So
a feeling you were going to say that, but
yeah, I mean, my dog rules the house, but
yeah.
right. I mean, I love going over. They're like, hey, you want to like come over for dinner? I was like, awesome. What sugary thing can I bring your child? um, but it allows us to be like really conscious of, do we stay in tonight and watch a movie, or do we go and do something? Like, even if it's silly, even if it ends up being dumb, but to keep that idea of the moments matter, live a life that you can tell a story about. Like, I think that's how I try to live. And it's easy not to live that way. It's easy to like, especially when winter comes and you just sit under an electric blanket and watch Netflix all day.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe you go to Oktoberfest and it's super not fun, but there's a giant Ferris wheel on a bridge, and like part of it is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But,
For sure.
You did it.
A question I had for you, and maybe I kind of got the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Obviously this is kind of like an autobiography to a degree, right? It's about experiences you've had. Um, do you miss that, Andrea, as an adult now? Like, do you miss that part of your life? Or are you okay with it, like just being what it was?
Yes and no.
Right.
I don't miss that Andrea because she was very much like trying to figure everything out. She was insecure and she didn't know like what she wanted. But I miss the community. I miss going to shows. Like, as an adult, you don't have that environment as much. And I have really great friends, but not in the same way that you could show up to a place at 10 o'clock at night and know that you're going to like have a good night. You have to make plans, you have to make reservations, all this stuff. So I miss the community aspect of it. Almost all of those people that are in that book are still part of my life in a very big way because I love them dearly. But I myself have grown and I appreciate that growth, but I do miss that like late 90s Wilkes-Barre scene
Yeah.
kind of a lot.
And how important is it to you, like, to have this collection at your fingertips, like to reference as like the memories, fade? Because unfortunately, we're getting older. I keep saying that, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I love about doing this is one reason I started a podcast in general was because I just wanted to talk to my friends so that I could record our conversations. And when I'm old and crazy, I'm gonna yell to my wife and say, "Amanda, get the tapes." So,
So, okay, I'll answer that. But first, have you read about the woman in Philadelphia who just like recorded television for like 40 years and
no,
she has since passed on?
no.
But because like news and broadcast companies taped over their tapes, her recordings are like the only archival evidence of something's ever being aired.
Wow.
And like how I I think
That
about it probably more than I should. But
Well,
in that
yeah,
same
because that
vein,
sounds crazy. But look what happened.
yeah, like, and I think she had a storage unit or like a second apartment where she just stored these VHS tapes.
That's nuts.
But she was like, something here is something I should capture. Uh,
That's That's wild. I did not hear that.
Yeah. I want a documentary to be made about this woman's collection. I don't know who's gonna make it, but
Netflix, Hulu, one of them will do it.
I don't know. I'm trying to get my husband to do it, but we'll see. Um,
Yes. Yes.
we'll see. He's not as enthralled as I am. That happens a lot.
I mean, how can you not be?
I
There's a woman
know.
who was recording TV shows.
Yeah, like news, commercials, because even I still have VHS tapes when I was a kid,
Hmm.
like all the Christmas specials. And
Sure.
they're like, my husband's like, do you want it like on like DVD? Like they sell it now. I'm like, but the commercials are on my videotape. Could we digitize my videotape, please?
Yeah.
I need that Coke commercial of like the kid putting the like cotton ball on Santa's beard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I totally forgot your question. I'm sorry. I got excited about the woman in Philadelphia.
Well, I was just saying how like are you how important is it to you
Oh,
to have this collection at your fingertips to have like as your memories kind of
yeah.
fade over time?
I I'm really happy I did it. And I'm really happy that I wrote the versions of the poems and took the notes when they were still fresh. And I think about that as I write like my new collections. Like do it now because they do fade. The feelings are different because you grow and your relationships change. So even if this never was published, I think I would always be really happy that I had it for myself.
Yeah.
It's a document of who I was, and I like who I am, and that's how I got here. So
Of course, and that's the coolest thing about growing up too. And it's I think it's so awesome that you have this documented because we do grow. And things that I would tell a story, but I wouldn't want it recorded. But like I look back on what I did, and I was like, what were you even thinking? What were you even thinking? And I'll tell you when we're done.
okay,
But like, I'm so glad I did it. I mean, it's something that I did, and yeah, I think that's what's such a cool thing about life in general. And there's that saying that youth is wasted on the young, which I think is very true. Because when you're young, I wish I knew then what I know now, type of stuff. Sometimes to a degree, right? Because I think not knowing is probably leads to a lot of the fun too. But yeah, it just life is a
yeah,
wild ride.
yeah, I agree, and I think about that phrase a lot because I think somehow subconsciously I knew to at least document it. Maybe I didn't know why I was, but there was something in me to be like, this is something that doesn't happen all the time,
Yeah.
and you should probably document it. But I definitely didn't realize it at the time. And uh, it's cool to see how people react to it because they're like, "You're taking me right back there." I was like, "Man, how did I do this? How do I have lightning strike twice?"
Yeah.
Um, but you're smarter than I am because in my second book, I wrote about some stuff that like was maybe poor decisions and being messy, and then I let my mother read it because the whole world could read it, and
Yeah.
I got made fun of a lot.
Really?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
So my second collection, so I went from Wilkes-Barre to school and then I moved to New York City. And then I had a New York City experience with a lot of alcohol and a lot of like I worked in a club slash bar and it was messy and it was fun and it was great. Um, and I wrote about it because it was messy and it was fun. It was great. I was 21 years old. Like you make dumb decisions when you're 21 years old. Um,
Maybe. I mean, did you get hurt?
Nothing lasting. I mean, I have a
Okay.
few scars, maybe.
Okay. So what?
But yeah, then you write some poems about it and you talk about maybe how you had too much drink and then your mother reads them. And then she needles you about it a little bit. I'm like, Ma, 20 years have passed. It's
Yeah.
it's in the I've turned out okay.
Yeah. Isn't there like a statute of limitations or something like that?
Yeah. But she works for like a local dental office and one of her coworkers read it. She's like, don't read these three poems. And I was like, oh my God. Because yeah, I am an only child and they like to think that I never
You're an angel,
I went
right?
from being 15 to married. Like there was nothing in between.
Nothing happened in between, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how detailed did you get? I mean, were you like,
It was remember the 3 poems, but like when I looked at them, I was like, oh yeah, they're right. And it was just maybe about like I was a little messy. I was dancing on tables. Like we went to Coyote Ugly and had that experience. Or maybe I met some guys and like they didn't kind of hang around. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, how do you find the one that's the right one
Yeah,
if there aren't some
especially in
wrong
New York
ones?
City.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's part of life. It's part of who
Yeah.
you, and you know, it's one of those things people are like, oh man, I can't believe I dated this guy or whatever it was or this girl. Um, but like I don't think there's any like real mistakes, right? Like it's all part of, you know, the process and the part of your growth and part of who you are now. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything is like a stop. It's a learning point. You go one way or the other. Um, anyone that I've ever crossed paths with, like I would be happy to like meet today. If even if it were to apologize that I was the jerk to them. I've done that a couple times to be like, hey, sorry, I was young and dumb. I see it now. But yeah, some of these people I haven't talked to in 20 years that maybe people would think are a bad decision. I would still be like, yeah, like I learned and we had these great times. There's no one I don't, I mean, maybe I should have regrets. I don't know, but I don't. They all led me here.
Exactly. You're happily married. You have a dog.
Yeah.
You're living in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Should I say that out loud?
What?
Should I say that out loud? People know where
Yeah.
you're at, right? Yeah,
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. So, and is that available as well out there in the
Yeah.
world?
Everything is available on Amazon. So Earth Island Books put out Short Skirts and Whiskey Shots first, and then they re-released mixtapes and photo albums, and they're in English, London, UK based publishing house, but everything's available on Amazon.
Is it on Audible?
I don't think it's on Audible.
Hmm.
See, that's where I am a like hold books in my hand person.
Well, that's when I was reading it on my phone. I'm like, this is stupid. Why am I reading this on my phone?
After this, you're going to give me your address. I'm going to send you the actual copies because there is something about it. You could break the spine. Like,
Yes.
I love a broken spine in a book. It looks loved.
Well, I mean, I think that's, you know, one of the things about our generation too that kind of is cool. Like we loved things. We loved the art. We loved to touch it and feel it. And I mean, I was buying CDs up until it was just financially irresponsible. Uh I mean,
I would still buy a CD.
well, the problem with me is like, you know, my son was born and I was still spending like $200 a month on CDs. And I'm like, probably not financially responsible, like kidneys diapers, right? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that was up until like that was 5 years ago or 6 years ago, whatever it was. I mean, I love that. I love the opening the CDs and pulling out the insert and looking through the art and the lyrics and who did what.
Yeah, I still love it. So again, because I don't have to worry about diapers. We have a beautiful old home and we had this room and it was like 8 by 8. Like, what do we do with it? And I was like, can I have this for my music room? So we have this beautiful room that's 8 feet by 8 feet with like one chair, one wall is CDs, and one wall is albums, and one wall is cassette tapes, and like still have all of the working devices to play all the media. And like that's where we hang out on the weekends. Like we just like pull out like sometimes one of us will play DJ and it'll be random or like we have themes. So like it's still in me. Like I want to touch books, I want to touch albums, I want to touch CDs. I probably will die with that idea. Like I have a Spotify account, but like it's not the same. And I like an album start to finish.
I know, yes, I talk about that a lot because I mean, I talk to a lot of like new musicians too, and like they're not like in that format. They're like, oh, we're just releasing singles and whatever it is. Like there's records that were written on purpose and recorded in order for you to listen to it in order.
And it's cool. It's cool both ways because I love, I mean, I haven't interviewed. I used to before when I had time, I interviewed musicians and wrote record reviews because I loved it. But I saw the change, but I was really interested in that change because it doesn't take years. You can write like one really great, beautiful song and release it.
Yes,
and then
you're
it could
right.
fit in somewhere else. So like
Or write
I
a
definitely
terrible
know.
song. Or write a terrible song and
Terrible
your
song.
fans hate it, and then you follow it up with a banger.
Right.
You
That's
know?
there's albums now, like we'll play like music trivia, and I'm like, I have no idea what the song is, but it's track 3 on this album. Like I don't know the title, but like I can tell you what's before and after it because it was a whole thing.
If I own the record, and it was within a certain like 20-year time frame, I could probably tell you the week that it came out, what year, in the month, sometimes even down to like within a day or two.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of faded over the years, but yeah. I mean, I just applied to so many of this music to, moments with, Kevin and those guys and stupid shit that we used to do and or a girl that you were seeing at the time. Um or just like, I finished freshman year of high school or college rather, and like all these things just apply to certain moments. That's I miss that so much about records. And you're right, before like they're every like 2 years. So it was easier to kind of like apply them to things because they weren't every 6 weeks. But
Do you still have like mixtapes?
somewhere, yeah. Not a ton. Yeah, I mean I was a big CD.
Well,
Uh
mix CDs.
okay, yeah. They're somewhere. I still have like my CD collection is like my pride and joy almost. It's in a room. It hasn't even opened in I don't know how long. But yeah, that was the best.
Do you make your Spotify playlist? Do you have Spotify? I assume you have Spotify playlists, but
I
do
have
you make
Spotify.
them?
I have Spotify. I have Apple. I'm an idiot.
Do you make your playlists like you make mixtapes? Like, do you have those you want to
So
remember a moment in time?
I don't, and that's an interesting question. I do have a playlist that I have like kind of in association with this that I kind of like just curate and I put out there and say, hey, like here's some new stuff I found or some local bands you should get into and check out if you want to. But nothing like that. Like nothing like that's like, oh, this is you know, our summer family vacation album or no, I don't do that. But that's an interesting thought.
I don't have as much on Spotify because I whatever Google Play was, whatever their music was until they sold it is where I was because I was able to move my digitized library there instead of like doing a streaming. So my playlists haven't transferred, but for friends, I like to make playlists for their birthdays
Okay.
that like reflect both like nostalgia, but then also new bands I think they would like based on that.
Hmm.
And that's what I listen to when I'm writing. Like
Okay.
when I want to like when I want to get back into a space, like I need those playlists. I also have this is one of the most embarrassing things to admit. I have mixtapes from like old boyfriends that I've made into playlists when I need to get like I was 15 years old and I listened to this tape all the time and I need to listen to it now in order to like write about it because
Yeah,
I don't feel that way anymore, but those songs will make me feel that way.
I know. It's another powerful thing about music. It can
Yeah.
take you right back to that moment. I used to make playlists, not playlists, but like when I used to get CDs, I would buy them, put them on my computer, and then transfer them right to my iPod.
Yeah.
I had a huge iPod. It's tons of storage. I think it still works. But if I went to, I would go to a lot of shows, like a lot of live shows. So then I would just, after the show was over, I would look them up, the set list online, and I would like
Mhm.
create a playlist like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
That's I just went to a show recently and it's the Descendants. They've been around since like the early 80s
Yeah.
and they played like all their hits. But the audience was like very divided. It was us old folks and then like 15-year-old kids. There was an entire pit of 15-year-old kids. And I wanted to do something like this and maybe I can look it up and see what songs they played because it wasn't their new stuff. Like they're still releasing new stuff. So the 15-year-old kids have like these songs that are like new to them, but they're like banging out to the ones that were released in like 1984
Yeah.
when like their parents were kids.
Right.
Um, so it's in that's really cool about recreating a show.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna send me down a wormhole. Like I'm gonna after this chat, I'm gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, enjoy. I don't know when I stopped doing that. I guess it was probably when I stopped using iTunes for like because I would spend it was a lot of time. You have to go
Yeah.
find the set list and all that shit. But yeah, that was fun. A lot of them were with my wife. So I'd have those like, the date, the venue,
Mm-hmm.
the band and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. But
Do you and your wife like the same type of music?
um I think so. I mean, what I love about her is she always let me have control of the radio or the Spotify account, whatever. She kind of like just kind of likes everything to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. So that was always nice. And she's like a boy band fan. Like, I mean, yeah. Now we have the Chapel Roan and uh the Sabrina Chamberlains of the world, which I like too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's still like a 98.5 KRZ listener.
Does KRZ still exist?
Yeah,
Nice.
44 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Rock 107.
I grew up. My parents probably still listen to Rock 107.
Yeah, that's who I work for now. I do a shift on Saturday nights.
Nice.
Yep. But yeah, so and she's like 4 years younger than me. So it's like kind of cool to see, someone younger
Yeah.
listening to the radio.
4 years. That's
Yeah.
nothing these days.
She's super young. On the record, she's so young.
Yeah.
She's so young.
Nice.
What's favorite band and record?
Of all time. See, I can't answer a favorite of all time.
Come on.
I know. It depends on my mood. I mean, Descendants Milo Goes to College is solid.
Yeah.
I love um Strung Out's Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues. I was a huge Screeching Weasel fan, and I know I shouldn't admit that because Ben Weasel punched a woman.
Oh,
It was like 10 years ago now, but
yeah.
um I don't know. I still love Green Day a whole super lot. The Warning album is like amazing. The Explosion, short-lived band, but I'll put them on like constantly. I'm really sad they broke up. They lasted like 3 years.
We have very different I don't say tastes, but like my favorites are complete opposites of your favorites.
What are they?
Well, I'm like Counting Crows, Foo Fighters,
Mm,
Aerosmith was, when I was growing up, Dire Straits,
mm.
Genesis. That was like
Peter Gabriel Genesis or Phil Collins
Phil
Genesis?
Collins Genesis.
I also
Yeah.
would lean in.
Yeah.
I grew up on all that. My first concert was Poison. My parents were like rock and roll. Like they were 70s kids. So we went to see Aerosmith when I was young. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Um my dad's favorite band ever is Rush. So like I grew up
Hell
on
yeah.
Rush. I cried the first time I saw Rush. I've probably seen them in concert like 9 or 10 times.
Do you cry at shows?
Sometimes it's
I
overwhelming.
I do all the time. All the time.
I love it.
Oh, so do I. Like, because like I'm like it'll just happen. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Remember, I was seeing Incubus. It was 2019. It was the 20th anniversary of their Morning View, not Morning View. I'm sorry, Make Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fucking crying.
It's
It took me. It just all of it. The emotion took me back to like doing my senior project in high school, and then like you know somehow it kind of like bled into like college years, and the Kevin and Chris and Ermac and those guys like that's why I love music so much. And I have a lot of people that send me music. They're like, "Hey, I just want to get your opinion on this. I really value your opinion." And I'll send it, and like, I just wish that I was able to like, this is cool, but why don't you try this? And they go, I can't do that. can't do it. I don't know how.
Right. Because you're a fan and you need that emotional connection. When someone just sends you music, you're just hearing it. It's not.
But I
It's
have an
different.
idea of what if they did. I could in my head I could say or hear like, oh, if this sounded like this, I think it would be cool, or at least try it. But
Yeah.
I can't verbally relay that message.
So you need that medium that like understands what you're saying and can translate it into music, which might
I'm
be
sure it's
Kevin.
coming. I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah. Like I feel like Kevin is your perfect conduit. Like, hey,
Yeah,
what about this? And he's like, oh, you mean, and then he'll play it and you're like, that's exactly what I meant.
that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll tell him he has a new job.
He's got jobs to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
don't
so I
know.
cry at concerts.
Yeah, I think it's a moving experience.
Yeah.
I've
A
never
lot.
seen Incubus, but I was really disappointed. This is gonna also be nerdy. I love Broadway. I love Broadway
Okay.
musicals.
That's fine.
And there was going to be a touring cast of Jesus Christ Superstar. This was like pre-COVID. And it was going to be Johnny Rotten and Brandon Boyd. And I was like,
Oh,
I am there.
yeah.
And then it got canceled. They didn't sell enough tickets in the US.
What?
I still think about that. It's like this was going to be the most amazing musical
Yeah.
experience of my life.
I would have gone to that.
Yeah, hands down.
But what are you gonna do?
We're the only two.
Brandon Boyd. I don't know if like I mean Incubus fans know Brandon Boyd's name, but if you said like Brandon Boyd of Incubus, would that help? I don't know.
No, like that voice, like even if you don't love that style of music, his voice is incredible.
Yeah, he did something on the 2011 album. Which one was that? Oh shit. It was I gotta find it. It's gonna piss me off. But his voice was just incredible. It's almost like did you get lessons somewhere? Not that he
Really?
needed them by any means. If not now, when? Yeah,
Yeah.
2011.
Okay.
I want to say July. Let's see.
Is it?
July 12th.
That's a superpower.
There it is.
If you were in Pittsburgh, so we do like music trivia at our local dive bar once a month. We would recruit you if you were here.
And what I'm good at too is like I could tell you within like 3 seconds what it is. Like, again, I have to be a fan of it. I have had to have heard it before.
Right.
Um, it might take me like sometimes it might take me at least hearing the voice to do it, but I'm pretty quick. But under pressure, it's like what like when you ever type and someone's over your shoulder and then you can't type. That would be
Yeah.
me. That would be me. I would.
Oh
I
yeah,
would
no. There's
freeze.
no pressure. There's drinks and there's
No,
really
I.
good pizza
It's,
and
it's not for me.
yeah.
Be too nervous.
It's a good time.
I'll send Chris in my place.
Hmm.
You're 3 minutes away.
He and I make plans and then like it never goes through. We're fantastic. It's like, hey, you want to go to the show? And it's like maybe, and then like it'll pass.
Maybe. That's me. That means no.
It's just like maybe I don't have to work. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'll think about it. That
Yeah.
means no. It's like if you're not like yes, I'm going. Like that's not happening.
Because we also have very different tastes. Because he loves like hardcore, and like I don't.
I never got to see Chris Abbott in an albatross.
What?
Never. To me that never happened.
He's a different human.
Didn't exist. I know Chris post an albatross.
Wow. Right. And I knew Chris pre, during, post. Because an albatross was like interesting. Like he was always a drummer before, and then they're like, "This is the band," and it because he was like such an innocent little kid.
Right. He
And then
still
an
is.
albatross was just a force.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of great stuff that's come out of here. You know, even within recent years, he had a title fight.
Yeah. And
I think
Glimmer.
one step
Glitter.
closer. Huh?
What's the new band? Is it
Glitterers. Yeah.
Yeah, Glitters. Yeah.
Glitterer. But Tiger's Jaw is doing some good things. I think One Step Closer is like on the verge.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you heard them before.
No, I haven't.
They have a song they put out on a record called Giants Despair. Hands down, the best song they've written,
Okay.
in my opinion. But
I will look it up as we
one
get off here.
one step closer, yeah. Young kids. It's
That's
funny.
exciting.
Well, it's
Like,
funny because I used to live across the street from the lead singer. This is going back 2010. He was probably like early teens, early teens, and just like making noise in his parents' basement. I didn't know who he was or anything like that. Now he's traveling the world in a great band.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So wow.
That's what will really make you feel old. It's when
Yeah.
the kid that's making noise is now like a successful musician.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, it's a weeknight. I don't want to keep you up too late. What is next for you? What anything in the works? What are we
I'm working on the next collection. I thought it was almost done and then I was wrong. So the next collection is not narrative. It's the first one that's not narrative. But as I keep on like talking to people that did not grow up with me and like talking about experiences, I realize that there's more to add to this. So I have my next 3 books planned.
okay.
Because I just write and write and write, and then I have to put them in buckets. So eventually one bucket becomes the next book. So hopefully the next one will be drafted in a few months, and then I'll start submitting. But as you said at the beginning, like I do this at night, I do it on weekends. So like it's not, I don't have the full-time brain power to put on it. So it takes some time.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes.
Not yet. I don't know how old you are. I mean, but we're young. We're young. We're young.
Are you gonna like splice together? We're old now. We're young.
No, I don't have that technology. I don't have that talent. No, we are though. I mean,
It's all perspective.
it is.
Like, I mean, I guess that's what like if this is our midlife crisis that we spend our evenings doing our art and what we're passionate about, like it's better than buying a Ferrari that we don't need.
Yeah, you know what's fucked up? You said midlife crisis, and like that. When I turn 40, I will be. This will actually come out on my birthday.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah. Next Friday, this will come out. I'll be 42. But 40 hit me hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was because, like, in reality, my life at this point is halfway over. If I'm lucky. If I like,
It's average.
yeah, but do the
Past
math.
80.
Let's do the math. Like, if I'm lucky, I live to 80, which is like halfway. And then how many of those 40 remaining years are like good years? Meaning like no health issues, no like bad hip, no bum knee. I don't know.
Right. So you got to make these years count.
I am. I mean, I'm back in the gym week 9, down
Woohoo.
some weight, down a pant size or two. Like, yeah, I want to make it to 100.
Really,
If I'm
100.
not if I'm not sick. If I'm
Yeah.
sick, just put me out.
Yeah. I want to choose
Yeah.
I would rather great 80
Yeah.
rather than like 100.
Yeah. I don't want to coast
Yeah.
into
That's
100, but
yeah. 40 also hit me hard. I wrote a whole essay about it because that's what writers do, and we air our whole insecurities to the world.
yeah.
And that was also I was like I wrote this and I felt really good about it, and then it got published. I was like, shit. Now like people know all this about me, and now they're thinking about it as they talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a lot of like this is what media told me I should be scared about at 40, or what I should be thinking or doing, and what I should have accomplished, and so it was like kind of shaking those things off and being like, what do I want those next 40 years to look like? So
Yeah.
just as you're talking, like, right, like what are the decisions I need to make those years better, rather than, I should be feeling a certain way because I've reached this midlife point.
That never really bothered me. That part, like it, yeah, I it's interesting. thing to say. Yeah, because media tells you one thing and you kind of have that pressure. But yeah, that never bothered me. I just hope that at least for a day, my kids like think that I'm cool. Just for a day.
Your kids are gonna think you're cool.
I hope. My kids love me now, but like so we'll be in the car, like we were coming home from Knobles one night and a commercial came on that I voiced. I'm like, oh, who's that? And my kid's like, yeah, it's you. And I'm like, fuck. You think that's cool? Like your dad's voice is on the radio? Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't know what fucking radio is. God damn it.
You just gotta think other stuff.
God damn it. God damn it.
And I definitely, I'm not myself a parent, but like I feel like I had cool parents. So like I think it's natural to like think your parents are cool. They
Yeah.
took me to concerts. Like I remember, I don't even know what year it was, 1997, 98. We went to Tinks to see Matchbox 20. They only
Oh
had
shit.
Push Out. No one
Oh,
knew
yeah.
who they were. And I don't know who opened for them, but my friends and I are downstairs seeing the band, and I see someone like throwing things at me, like wadded up napkins. It's my dad having beers with the band on the
Oh,
second
shit.
floor.
Nice.
So I'm like, that's my like parents could be awesome. They're like, we liked the same music. You go do your thing. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
gonna connect with your kids.
I
Like they're
know.
gonna be awesome.
I
Maybe
know.
they don't care about commercials.
I know. But I don't know. It was funny too, because I got out of media 3 years ago. And I always said that I was probably like get out of it before my kids were old enough to realize what I was doing. Because I thought it was cool, right? You know, Weekender, the radio. Um, but of course, so I got out of it, and he was at the time 3. So now I'm back in it. So I have to stick around at least long enough for him to like understand what it is, and then he could say that maybe I'm a loser, maybe I'm not. But
I'm sure it's all gonna be fine because you're
that's not
gonna
what.
love what you do, and that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask you too. Like I feel like because I spent 3 years at Axelrad, I have to believe that some of those guys you probably cross paths with.
So who is at Axelrad? I know like this is gonna sound bad. Deirdre's husband.
Yes, Dave.
Yes. So I
Dave
crossed
Miller.
out with Deirdre. She was my
Okay.
boss at Gadzooks when I
Oh,
worked at the mall.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought because all those kids. Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of the young kids there now. There's only like a couple of us old people that were there, with Dave and Dennis Condusta. But I think he was gone for a little while in LA. Yeah, maybe not then. I just thought that
Yeah.
like Matt Treble. I didn't know if that was
I don't know. And
him.
it's also, I'm at the point where like, it's like, do I know this last name? I have no idea. Like,
Maybe.
it's, I'm getting like, I'll get messages from friends like, do we know this person? Like, it sounds familiar. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's a
but yeah,
picture.
like
That was
my,
20 years ago. Who I don't know.
right. Or like, you just know them by like their nickname. Like,
Right.
a lot of times, like, it's like, you know, Bob Lewis? And like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, Bobo? Oh, yeah, him. Or Jibbo.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you know, John? What,
Yeah.
John Tomkowski? Like, what? No.
Who? No.
Yeah.
His
So,
dad? His dad? What?
yeah. So, right. It's crazy about how many people cross paths or came out of the scene at different times and like did
Mhm.
all these like cool things. And like maybe you cross paths and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, this area in general is special. And like going back to like, when you entered to now, like the venues, there's like there's nowhere else, like there's no place for kids to really play. That sucks.
but isn't there like a cool Dunkin' Donuts now? Or no, a Curry Donuts.
Curry Donuts, they do outside shows there. Yeah. So it's like real punk and DIY and whatever, but it's outside the parking lot, which is fine, right?
Yeah, it's
But
not yeah.
it's not a it's not a metro. It's
Right, where you could have
it's
different
not a
styles.
Tinks, it's like even Tinks. Like there's nothing,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't know Tinks was gone until like last year.
Where do you see it?
I
Made
did.
it
We went to dinner like next door somewhere. So I was like, so Sharon, I don't know if you know Sharon.
I think so. Just to
she
see her.
lives out in like music now, and she's like, what's halfway? So it's Scranton. And she's like, wait, let's go to this bar. It's where Tinks used to be. I was like, wait, Tinks used to be? And it was very sad because I so many great shows at Tinks. Like
Yeah.
it was it was the perfect business plan. Like you had under 21 on the first floor, drinks, and over 21 on the second floor, like, and it was always packed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I don't know.
no, kids don't have that. Like, I feel so lucky to have had that.
I know. I know. I
Like,
don't even know if kids want that though. I really don't. I don't know if they want it. Like, I'm in media. I'm trying. Like, I work with a lot of businesses and trying to like talk to them about how to, acquire new customers and things like that. But like, I'm like, what are the kids doing? I don't even know. They're playing video games. This sounds old again. I understand that, but like, they're playing video games. They're smoking pot. Like, they're much more health conscious, so they're not even drinking. And listen, I'm not saying that you have to drink to have a good time, but like they're just doing different things that don't include going to bars and and live music. It's just
I feel like there has to be those kids though. Like, is it coming full circle to like where it was so underground? There will always be kids that crave.
I think that's starting to happen. Like there's a couple bands like I've seen posters pop up that don't have an address. Like you have to like find
Ooh.
someone who knows.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
yeah,
But
that
like
is.
that sucks for people like me because I'm not gonna go find you. I like that's like creepy. I I go to the gym in the morning and like one day a week there's um like 4 or 5 teenage girls. And like I feel like a weirdo because it's me and them and the
That's
the
the thing.
trainers.
Yeah. And that's the thing that sucks about being old is like when you still have interests and you're like, I don't want to be creepy, but like, how do I get in here?
Yeah. Like you're not allowed, old man.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe we have to give up the ghost. Like it's not for us anymore.
I guess.
But we have a venue here and it's called the Mr. Roboto Project. And it's like those old school venues. And I love it there, but I feel so old. Like, but they have that feeling and that scene, and they're all like 15, 16 years old. And it's like I look at it and I'm like, I've passed this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to have some like old school reunions. I don't know how that happens. Get some old bands back together.
Yeah. Once a year, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
if anyone put together a fest, people would go to it. Like
yeah.
old school Wilkes-Barre Fest.
Yeah, but there's so much risk. Talking about
Just the
risk before.
old man coming out.
Yeah, exactly. So much risk. You do it outside, it rains, all your shit's
I mean, does Roller King still exist? Like, where did we used to do
I
fests?
don't know.
Roller King, Indie Fire Hall. Indie Fire Hall still is
Yeah,
around. I don't
we
know if they
could do
let
like
people do shows.
we could find a fire hall, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's a skateaway.
Oh yeah, that still exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's do it once a year.
Cool.
The revival fest. That sounds like it already exists.
Sounds like a religious convergence.
Mhm.
And
Well, Andrea, it was an absolute pleasure.
it was great to talk to you.
I talked to you longer tonight than I have, knowing you for the
I
past
know.
20 some years.
It's crazy.
I love
Uh,
the fact that you reached out and got to do
thanks for
this.
taking a chance on poetry.
I'm trying to, expand my offerings, and trying to open my mind, you know.
And it's not that scary.
It's
There's
not, like I said at the beginning, it was really well done. So, kudos to you and hopefully people watch, listen to this and maybe you sell one or two more.
awesome. Sounds good. I want to spread the love of like poetry is not a dead archaic art form.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. Not the way you did, anyways. It was good.
Thank you
Plus,
very much.
again, it just painted that picture of like the youth and all about the story.
All about the story.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing more work from you.
Thank you. And thanks
And
for
hope,
all this. It was
yeah,
a really fun evening.
yes. Hopefully one day you hit me up and say, "Hey, I just quit my full-time job. I'm doing this full-time now."
Cross your fingers.
And then you're like, "Can I come back on the show?" And you're like so huge that you come back on the show and then like you just kind of pull me up with you a little bit, just a little bit.
Hey, I'll let's all dream that dream.
Hell yeah. Hell yes. Where can people find you to if they wanted to buy the book? I know you said it was on Amazon and
It's
things like
on
that.
Amazon. I am, as far as I know, the only Andrea Janov that exists. So andreajanov.com is me on Instagram. And that's really the only Andrea Janov Poems is my public Instagram. And yeah, that's it. I'm around.
Cool.
Awesome. Well,
Well,
thank you so
maybe
much.
maybe you'll sneak back into NAPA when the gang's all here and we'll hang for a minute.
That'd be super fun.
But
I'm in. I'll send random text messages and like surprise everybody.
yeah, tell Chris when he's coming. You're gonna go in the back, the trunk of his car.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll coordinate with Chris. Yeah. Last time I drove in, I called Kevin. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm driving home. And I felt like I needed to call you.
He's funny. Like he lives in Colorado, and he'll text the group, "Hey guys, I'm in Wilkes-Barre," and it's like, dude, like I so badly want to see you right now, but I got my kid's baseball game. Like you can't just like if you told me give me 3 days notice.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm that friend. I was like, hey, I'm here.
That makes sense. That makes sense why you guys are so close.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it works.
Well, thank you again. Best of luck with everything, and I will hopefully will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks, John. I'll talk to you later.
it's Popko.
Pop
Call me
guy.
Popko.
Sorry. It even says it in the little thing over here.
It does right there, so you
Yeah.
don't forget. So, all right, cool. Thanks.
Awesome.
See
See
ya.
ya.